Having looked at all of the items that are included in our gross income, we're now going to turn our attention to look at items that are excluded from gross income. And so really what we're looking at here is kind of a negative list. These are the items that we have money coming in, we have something coming in, but it's not going to be included in that calculation, in that kind of huge summation of all of our income. And so these are items that are excluded from gross income. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go through here and look at an overview of some major ones, and then we're going to come back and look at those major ones individually and in more detail. And then we're also going to look at a list of some minor ones that we're not going to come back to elsewhere, but just kind of a list of some of these other exclusions that you need to be aware of. So first, we start with this list of major exclusions, and we're going to come back and look at each of these in more detail. But just here's kind of an overview as an introduction. Municipal bond interest, the interest from state and local government bonds, is generally excluded from income. The gain on the sale of a main residence is going to be excluded up to $250,000 or $500,000 from qualifying married filers. And the discharge indebtedness on that main home of up to $2 million may be excluded. Employee achievement awards up to $1,600 for length of service or safety achievement may be excluded. And also certain fringe benefits that are provided by the employer are specifically going to be included. Military and government disability pensions are going to be excluded as long as they are not based on the years of service that were provided. Scholarships and fellowships, there's a number of ways that income, or what appears to be income, these scholarships and fellowships will be excluded if we use them for qualified educational expenses. We've got a number of different kind of variations on this that will lead to excluded income. Compensation for injury, sickness, or death. Well, if we get payments for occupational sickness or injury under Workers' Compensation Act, if we have compensatory damages from a lawsuit, if we have benefits that are being paid, reimbursements for medical care, these are all going to be excluded. And also there's a foreign earned income exclusion, not only for income, but also for housing, up to $107,600 of foreign earned income per qualifying person in 2020. Again, the numbers are going to change year by year, but that's where we are in 2020. These are the major exclusions. And again, we'll come back and look at each of these in more detail. These are the ones that you need to be aware of those details for. But we also have a list of minor exclusions, and these aren't things that I want you to memorize all the details of. We're just going to kind of go through, and these are just kind of an example of all the different things that are excluded, all the different ways we don't always necessarily think of that we have what could be income coming into us, and these are ones that are going to be excluded. The discharge of debt due to bankruptcy or insolvency is excluded from income. There's a discharge of certain student loan indebtedness is able to be excluded. A price reduction is going to be excluded. Social Security benefits, part of them are going to be excluded. We look at Social Security benefits as part of what's included in income. A housing allowance for a member of clergy, again, we've looked at that as part of what's included, but a reasonable housing allowance may be excluded. Veterans benefits aren't included if we're talking about most of these VA benefits that are available. Gifts and inheritances are generally not going to be taxed if it's received as a gift, a bequest, or an inheritance. Welfare or public assistance is generally going to be excluded unless it's obtained fraudulently. Casualty insurance, we're going to exclude insurance settlements that are received to compensate for damaged or stolen property from our income. Is going to be excluded. Qualified disaster relief payments, if it's due to terrorist or military action or a federally declared disaster area, we're going to exclude that. Property settlements, a taxpayer does not recognize a gain on a transfer of property to a spouse due to a divorce, but any gain that later happens on that distribution or sale of the property may be taxable. Child support payments are excluded. Foster care in general, foster care payments that are received are excluded, and reimbursements for certain employee-related expenses are also going to be able to be excluded. So that's just the overview, and we've got 7 of these kind of more major exclusions that we'll go ahead and look at individually. But as you can see, there's a lot of things that we receive that at first glance may appear to be income, but because they are specifically excluded, they will not be part of that total income calculation that we're making as a taxpayer.